Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. You know, folks, this week we're going to take a little bit of a journey off the beaten path. We're going to go into a bit of a thriller, a little bit of fiction this week, and there's a reason for that. I found an amazing book this week that I wanted to turn you guys on to. You know, for the longest time, I've been a fan of Japanese culture. I've been a fan of a good thriller, a fan of good fiction. And I found a book this week that I want to turn you guys into. There's a book out there called The Puzzle Box. And I don't want to say it's a sequel to another book because it isn't. We're gonna clarify with Danielle Trussoni, who's the author of this wonderful book. The Puzzle Box is an amazing book that takes you on quite the ride. And it has twists and turns in it that take you on this journey into Japanese culture, into a bit of its theology, into and you know what, for my supernatural listeners on Darkness Radio, you're going to love the fact that it does get into its theology, that it gets into a bit of its supernatural mix, that it gets into a bit of your suspension of disbelief here, and that you need to kind of sit back and enjoy the ride as you're going on this journey with Mike Brink, who's a puzzle genius who gets this through an unfortunate event that we'll talk about with Danielle. And again, you know what, we're going to bring Danielle here in just a second to talk about the theme of the book, that this puzzle genius has to solve this, not only a murder of his doctor who's trying to help him through this unfortunate brain injury that he has, but also that he has to help solve this puzzle, which he wants to be pulled into. Again, we'll discuss it with Danielle. There's a bit of tragedy in here. There's a bit of excitement, a lot of excitement in here. And the setting in Japan is just absolutely beautiful. At the same time, it's thrilling. At the same time, it's dangerous. At the same time, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. And it's so exciting. Again, we'll get into the puzzle box here on True Crime Tuesday. And I think you guys are going to love this book. You're absolutely going to love this book. Let's tell you a little bit about Danielle. Danielle Trussoni is the New York Times bestselling author of The Ancestor, Angelology, and Angelopolis, all New York Times notable books, and The Puzzle Master, chosen by the Washington Post as one of the best thrillers of 2023. Her memoir, Falling Through the Earth, was selected by the New York Times as one of the top 10 books of the year. Danielle is a graduate of the Iowa Writers Workshop and the winner of the Michener Copernicus Society of America Fellowship, and her work has been translated into more than 30 languages. We have a link to her website in this in the description of this show. We encourage you to go visit her there. We encourage you as well to check out her other books. Let's bring her in right now. Danielle Trussoni, welcome in to True Crime Tuesday.
Hey, Tim. It's great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. I got to tell you how much I enjoyed this book. As I stated in the beginning of the program, a huge fan of Japanese culture. I have been since I was young. And I almost feel like, we've talked on Darkness Radio about past lives. And I really feel like I had a past life somewhere in there in Japan. It almost feels like home whenever I see pictures, whenever I'll share just an inside thing with you here that my grandfather in World War II, I didn't know this up until recently, but I was given a disc of pictures of his that he had in World War II. And he had one secret mission where he went inside Japan and had a picture of Mount Fuji. And I didn't know this. It was posthumously that I got to see this picture, and it was gorgeous.
That's incredible. Wow.
I felt like I was transported home when I saw this picture.
That's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and I just saw these cherry blossoms and in the mountain in the background, and I thought, wow, and one of the things, and I'll share this with you, Danielle, I've shared it with friends, is that when I was in high school, he built a Japanese waterfall in the backyard of his home. And I could never quite figure out why we were doing this. And he said, well, Timothy, he said, when I had to guard, he was in Corregidor in the Philippines, and he did have to guard Japanese POWs. But he said, I also befriended Japanese POWs. He said they were also my friends, and I also respected my enemy. And I was trying to figure out if he was working out PTSD or what he was doing, but then it made sense to me what he was doing as well. He was honoring some of those people that he had met as well. So,
That's
um,
a really beautiful story. Thank you for, and I don't know why I was drawn to go to Japan either. You say that you saw that whenever you see a picture of Japan, you feel like there's just something.
yeah.
And I felt that way too. I ended up living there for over 2 years. And that was really the inspiration for writing the puzzle box is my experiences living in this small town in the southern part of Japan. And, for the past 20 years, I guess, I wanted to write a book set in Japan and just couldn't find that thing, right, that was good enough for
Yeah.
me. I didn't want to just set a novel there and just have it be there for no reason, right? I needed to
Right.
have something that was like really integrated, a story that was like so essential to Japanese culture and Japanese history and Japanese characters that I could actually write it and it would feel real.
Well, this does feel so authentic and so real. And I do have to tip my cap to you because it feels almost too authentic and too real. I mean, there's so much research and so much that's so authentic about it's like being there and being there with a guide who tells you everything about the land, everything about different areas of Japan, not just Tokyo, because you could have just thrown this in the middle of Tokyo like every American author does and just said, there's a bunch of lights and here's a couple of authentic pieces of food and here's a couple of buildings that exist in Tokyo and you're welcome. And here we're going to fly back to the States now. And you could have set your story up like that and that could have been it. But you really submersed us into, and it was a complete immersion into Japanese culture and into the land of Japan and took us to different places in Japan and really gave us a tour.
Yeah, well, and that was by design. I wanted to, with the puzzle box, I wanted to write a story that once you got hooked, it would take you through this sort of long um, and I don't want to say treacherous, but it does feel a little bit treacherous, this long and winding path through the breadth of Japan. And so I'll just give people a little summary of how Mike Brink gets there. Mike Brink, the hero, as you mentioned earlier, of this book, is a puzzle genius.
Mhm.
And one day he's visited in his home by a young Japanese American woman who presents him with a puzzle box. And I actually have a real Japanese puzzle box here that I'll show
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
So if you can see it, like they move, right? The
yeah.
pieces move just a fraction of an inch. And that's how it opens. And this one is a 28 move box, right? So you do 28 moves on this and it will open and the cap will come off and something will be in there.
Okay.
Well, Mike Brink is very, very good at mechanical puzzles, right? So he's also, just uh, he's good at every kind of puzzle basically, but mechanical puzzles are his favorite. And so he opens it, of course, and inside is another puzzle, a puzzle within a puzzle, and he solves that. And the text of that puzzle says invitation to play. And he's been invited to one of the most dangerous contests in the world. It's a contest that the Emperor of Japan holds every 12 years to open it's not ancient, it's about 150 years old, an old puzzle box that was created in the 19th century. The only problem is that every person who has tried to open this box has died in the process.
Oh,
So it's this big box full of traps and poisons and puzzles within puzzles, and it's really just a mind bender, right?
right.
Um, of course, Mike Brink, being who he is, someone who really needs to solve conundrums and problems and challenges just to stay sort of alive, right? And we'll go into that later about what's going on with him that he's like that.
Yep.
But he can't refuse.
Yeah.
And he goes with this woman, Sakura, her name is, this Japanese American woman, and that's in Tokyo. But the solution to the box takes him completely through Japan. We go to Hakone, which is a small town in a very ancient and famous forested area in the mountains where puzzle boxes are constructed.
Mhm.
Then they go to Kyoto, which is one of my favorite places in the entire world. And they go to a few locations there. And then they go to the south of Japan in Kyushu, which is really very much the countryside. That's where I lived when I lived in Japan.
Really?
So I had to put something, in Kyushu in this story. And so he really does, you're right. It doesn't just stay in Tokyo. You're not just getting the sushi and the subway and the flashing lights. No, you're getting a very different perspective of Japan. But what I loved about writing this is that all of those places and all of those experiences that you're getting in Japan is wrapped around a really nail-biting story, a propulsive story where you're like, oh my goodness, is he going to make it? And yeah. So it was really, really fun to write this book.
I mean, again, without getting spoilerish, I don't want to get spoilerish in this book, but you've done everything from set things in bamboo fields out in the middle of nowhere to, um, like you said, out in the middle of the country to finding shrines in different places. I mean, specific shrines of certain gods to, I mean, just different things and the rich history and explaining the history behind the shrines of these gods and in finding different pieces of Japanese theology that pull people in. I mean, knowing the different Shinto gods and things like that make you go, you know what? I want to learn more. I want to know more about the culture and knowing and immersing yourself in this entire culture for a few hours and knowing that I'm in this world, not just I'm visiting this world or I'm taking a little trip to this world and it's a casual little trip. You really are in this world along with Mike Brink and Sakura, and you're along, not just along for the ride, you feel like you're in danger with them. And that's a huge thing.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was writing it, I was like, I was feeling in danger, and
Yeah.
I knew the ending. But about the Japanese theology and Shinto religion and the gods, like that element of this book was something that was really important to me. And when I lived in Japan, I lived in a small village in Kyushu, and every morning, I taught English in a high school. So
Mhm.
I would walk from my little apartment, and I would walk through these sort of narrow Japanese streets, and there would be these small shrines. And sometimes I would stop and just, look at them, and sometimes I would see that people had left candles burning, or people had left coins or little packages. And it intrigued me about what this was. And so I've done a lot of research into Japanese religion. I've been to a lot of Japanese shrines. And one thing, I don't want to give too much away about the story, but one element that really fascinated me was the idea of the goddess,
Yes.
right? There's the Japanese people. This is a legend and is actually sort of enshrined in the history of the imperial family.
Mhm.
The Japanese imperial family, as legend goes, is descended from a sun goddess.
Mhm.
And the sun goddess is the one who gave them these three imperial treasures that appear in the book. One is a sword, one is a jewel, and one is a kind of shield. And these objects for me became really intriguing. It was a way for me to get into the culture in a way that I hadn't seen before. And I had lived there for a couple of years, right? And I am someone who watches a lot of Japanese film and loves to read books written by Japanese authors. But I hadn't seen that element before. And so that's what really pulled me into, other than the fact that I lived there and wanted to write a story set into Japan, but those elements really brought me into this particular story.
What is it, Danielle, about there's something about the Japanese culture where they use an object as symbolism for something deeper. And then they take you in, like, for example, and you use it in the book yourself, where you'll use the puzzle box to take you in deeper into a mystery. and it may be something simple like trying to think of something where I don't give something away here in the book.
Yeah,
Um,
it's hard.
but I'll give an example. Okay, so you mentioned things like a mirror or something to that effect, or three objects, but those three objects mean something deeper. Okay, so you look at these three objects are actually symbolic for a message that's something deeper about that particular god, or it could be something as symbolic as uh again, I'm trying not to give something away about the book. um Help me out here, Danielle. I'm trying to simplify this here. An object
Well,
that you know what I mean, but a double meaning.
yeah,
So if you have an object or it's symbolic of something else. So the sun
right. Well,
would be,
I think part of that, I mean, just to answer, I'm not Japanese, obviously,
mhm.
but and even though I've spent a lot of time there, um,
But
I'm
it's a
still
very
an outsider.
it's a very poetic society. So there's and a
Extremely
very
poetic,
poetic culture. Yeah.
extremely poetic. And if you take like the haiku, for example,
Yes.
that's a good example. And there is a haiku in one of the puzzles in this book. Um, it's, I think it's 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, and it's very impressionistic. It's like almost like beats of images, right? This image and that image and that image. And together, the impression of it leaves you with something greater and deeper. And almost like a feeling or like a vibration, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like that really captures Japan,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot that is not spoken. There's a lot that is under the surface. It's a point of pride for the Japanese people I knew to be to leave a lot of space. Maybe it's because it's such a populated society. There's so many people living so close together, like leaving space in terms of how one interacts with each other, and also give, about they don't pound you over the head with symbolism or meaning. They
Right.
make you go in. And I also think, just to tie it back to the puzzle box, like, um, needing to go deeper is what a mystery is about, right? And,
Mhm.
or a crime, right? Like, I think this is why we all like, or I love true crime too. Like, why we all like true crime and mysteries and thrillers, because there's a question, there's a mystery, and getting like to the heart of that, and scratching under the surface and figuring out how that happened and why is so interesting and thrilling.
Yes.
um, and for me, that's why I write, is that process of doing the research, having an idea, doing the research, going deeper, finding the symbolism that connects it to not only me, but other people. So the whole thing was really, I mean, it took a couple of years of, as you mentioned, research. There's a lot of research, a couple of years of research plus living there for me to feel like I was even capable of putting this together in a way that people could enjoy.
Well, it's not only enjoyable, but it's complex. I mean, much like the culture itself, I I got to be honest with you. I couldn't solve anything that was in this book immediately. Like a lot of people will say, "Well, I can read the story and I could be three moves ahead and I could tell you exactly where this was going." I couldn't tell you what the end of this book was. I mean,
Oh, that makes me so happy. Yay.
I had to hang on to the end to figure out where exactly this was going. And even there's some cliffhangers at the end where you're like, well, I wonder what happened to this character, or what happened to this character, and you're like, oh, and not until the very last pages of the book do you figure it out or know. And that's what is so brilliant about this book is you keep people hanging on until the very end to know exactly, and you tie everything up in a nice bow at the end, which is beautiful. Um, and that's what's so brilliant about the puzzle box. And literally, much like a puzzle box, you reveal everything at the end. You do get to open everything up, and there is that prize there at the end,
I
which
thought
is,
that that was really important.
yeah,
I think it's frustrating when you read a mystery or a thriller and it's kind of like a cliffhanger, or they leave you,
yeah,
without the answers.
yeah,
And especially because I did structure the book like the puzzle box, right? Like when I was mapping this out, it's nested.
Yeah.
There's the exterior and then it goes deeper and then there's this stuff in the middle. And I wanted the reader to leave the experience, close the page and feel both like, oh wow, that was a trip. But also be like, I learned something about not only Japan, which we do, but about myself, right? Because there's a kind of emotional journey for Mike Brink, who is the hero. You know, this is a man who is tortured. He has a lot of demons, and so this experience of going to Japan and going through all he does and learning what he does, and his relationship, the friendship that he makes with Sakura, in the end, it gives him some sort of peace, which was important to me.
Mhm. And again, I'll stress for our supernatural listeners, there's a second thing about Mike Brink that's very interesting. That it may not just be the fact that this man has potential issue with his brain. And I tease that because we're going to get into it in our second segment. We only have a couple minutes in this segment, but there's an issue with Mike Brink as to why he can solve these issues so easily. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Mike Brink and what he does, not just solving puzzles, but he also writes crosswords, right? And he does other things in his day job that get him to this point where he's solving puzzles. He has kind of an interesting life before he's presented this interesting challenge by Sakura. um, he's kind of struggling with life a little bit in that he's writing these puzzles and he's putting together. And he's kind of famous for the fact that he can put together anything, as far as not just take it apart, but put together anything as far as crossword puzzles, as far as any type of puzzles. And he's kind of a name around the world, isn't he?
Yeah, he's famous actually by this point. So as you said before, this is not a sequel, this is a standalone book, but I did write another book before this that has him as a character in a totally separate mystery. And he is such a renowned puzzle master and has done so much work he's a world puzzle champion. He is one of the main constructors of puzzles for the New York Times Games page. He solved this mystery, in the previous book that was all over the news. And so he's been on his favorite, he likes to go on Stephen Colbert. That's his favorite place to go. So he was interviewed there and he's just, he's very famous. It's not helpful to him, right? Because he is struggling with demons and it just makes it worse, having to sort of be this person in the world. What he really loves and what is his sanctuary and what sort of saves him is making these complicated and interesting contraptions, right? Like these difficult triangularium puzzles, these difficult crosswords, like all of these things that he's doing, and also competing. He has a talent of remembering pie places. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but this is something that's a real thing. I find it utterly impossible. I can barely remember my social security number, let
Right.
alone,
Yeah.
pie places into the tens of thousands. But there's contests where people will stand in front of a group and they will simply recite pi, the 3 point whatever that long number, and they can go into tens of thousands of places in pi correctly. And it's just incredible. It makes you wonder and we can talk about this in the next segment,
Sure.
where that ability comes from and how the brain accesses these sort of archetypal pieces of information. But anyway, that is the sort of thing that calms his nervous system down, right? Because he's jacked up. He's got a brain injury. There's a lot of things going on with him. He's an insomniac. He has synesthesia, which means that he's seeing colors and hearing things all the time. And it's just a barrage of too much information and just too much all the time.
Yeah.
So having the peacefulness of quiet, focusing on constructing a puzzle is what saves him. But also then, when he goes to Japan with Sakura, this whole journey acts as a kind of solve for his brain.
Right, right. Well, I tell you what, let's take our break here. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the things that calm Mike down, the things in Mike's life, not necessarily that calm him down, but keep him stable. I want to talk about a friend in his life that keeps him stable. And I want to talk about the companion in his life that keeps him stable. We'll talk about Rachel. We'll talk about Conundrum. We'll talk about those two characters. And we'll also talk about a little bit about his journey into Japan and who he can trust and who he can't. We'll talk a little bit about trust issues as he gets into Japan. We'll talk about that when we come back. The book is absolutely fantastic, folks. It's called The Puzzle Box. And by the way, Danielle, I love Stephen Colbert too. And are your publishers going to get you on the program to talk about The
Oh,
Puzzle Box?
please, I would love. This is a message to you, Stephen. Let's talk about Mike Brink together.
There you go. There you go. So that we'll make that push to get you on Stephen Colbert. That's for sure. The Puzzle Box is out there right now and available. It's by Danielle Trussoni. By the way, folks, we have a link in the description of this program. Go get the book right now. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. You're going to enjoy it. It's a wonderful read for the fall, by the way. We got a link in the description. Go get it right now. When we come back, we'll talk about Mike Brink. We'll talk about the stable forces in his life and the ones that maybe he can't trust so much. It's coming up next, right here on the Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Our guest is Danielle Trussoni. The book is The Puzzle Box. When we last left you, we were talking about Mike Brink, the fact that he has this unusual ability to solve any puzzle you put in front of him, really any quest you put in front of him, and that he's been grabbed by Sakura to go over to Japan and solve the ultimate puzzle box, and by request of the Emperor of Japan. Now, when we last left people, Danielle, we were talking about some of the more stable forces in his life that kind of keep him grounded. He does have this brain injury. He has synesthesia. He sees colors. And he also gets this information just seems to pop into his head whenever he seems to need it. I mean, when he's thinking of an equation or needs to think of an equation, it just sort of comes to him. But he has trouble kind of calming down his mind. But there's certain things in his life that do calm him down. He's got his dog Conundrum, which is a huge, huge calming force in his life. It's almost, the dog's almost like a security blanket to him. Talk a little bit about Conundrum and the relationship with Conundrum.
Sure. So Conundrum is it's a dachshund. It's a she. And her nickname is Connie. And she was a rescue, and he found Connie, and they just kind of bonded, right? And I've seen this in my own life with people that I know who maybe have a lot of anxiety, or even just children who no problems whatsoever, but the sort of love and companionship that a pet brings, especially a little dog, like Conundrum, it really brings Mike Brink a lot of security, right? A routine. He's taking her out for a walk every morning. He's feeding her special food. They play games together. And, it seems a little bit simple, but I think that kind of unconditional love for someone who is, neurodivergent, the way that Mike Brink is really important. And I might, if you don't mind, just take a step back and talk about how he became that way, because
Let's.
his condition and the reason that Conundrum is so important to him, as his pet, has to do with the way that this injury happened. So, Mike Brink wasn't always like that. He was actually, when he was 17 years old, he was a football star. He was a quarterback for a big football team, and he was actually being scouted for college football. And the night of the Ohio State Championship, he lived in Ohio, he got hit really hard, and he had a brain injury to his left hemisphere.
Yikes.
And he developed something. This is actually a real disorder. It's very rare, but it's real, called savant syndrome.
Okay.
And what happens to people who suffer from this is they have a brain injury, and the brain sort of overcompensates, and there's a hyperplasticity that occurs. And these people develop a skill or a talent that they didn't have.
Hmm.
So, for example, there is someone who's developed this who didn't play music at all, woke up in the hospital, and then a few weeks later just felt this urge to start playing the piano. And over the next 6 months, he not only was playing the piano, but he was composing music, and he had this amazing ability to play the piano. This has happened with people where they suddenly are able to start speaking languages that they didn't know. And my question when I came across that bit of research was, how in the hell can they do this? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on here in the human brain where it almost feels like a different model for learning, right? It's not that we learn by taking in pieces of information and retaining it, but by scraping away a wall or a part of ourselves, we're given access almost to the stuff that's out there, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of theories about how savant syndrome works. Some of them are more supernatural and mystical, as you can imagine. And that's one element about Mike Brink that I'm really interested in.
Mhm.
Not only like that he's a genius, right? But how this information comes to him when he didn't have it before. He was a very average person before, maybe physically, above average, but very average mentally. And then this injury changed him to such a degree that he's learning how to manage it. So he's really in uh, a, a struggle with himself all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, and that brings up another point, as you pointed out, that maybe there's another side to this, that maybe it's not just an injury that's causing him to be able to channel this information, or this savant syndrome. He has a friend in his life that believes that this is not just a brain injury. Who's this friend, and what does she believe?
So his friend is Rachel, and she's been a friend with his friend since his previous adventure, right? And she is someone who she's a scholar. She's very interested in the history of religion, and she believes that there is a kind of universal knowledge, and that we all could have access to it. And in Mike Brink, one of the reasons she's so fascinated with Mike Brink and that she's so close with him is that she sees in him an example of a human being able to tap into universal consciousness or God or whatever you choose to call it, but this ability to transcend the limits of the brain, or the body, which she believes is holding us sort of in our place, and access the universe. Right. So yeah, so she's just like, she's mind blown by Mike Brink.
Well, no, you use a term that our listeners on Darkness Radio are very familiar with, Danielle, and that's the Akashic records.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And we're very familiar with that term. And that would it's a good way of putting this. Now, depending on how traumatic the injury is, it would make sense that what had happened to Mike Brink was very simple, that he simply unlocked a door that allowed him to more freely access that that bit of him that can access the Akashic records. Now, what you haven't said in here is whether Mike had a near-death experience when he had this brain injury, or did he come close to death when he had this brain injury? Did he?
Well, so he was knocked out cold,
Okay.
right? And he woke up in the hospital. So he could have, right? You know, that part hasn't been explored. And I would like to write another book with Mike Brink and go deeper into that element, that point, right? Where he was one thing and then he became another thing, and what happened
Okay.
at that point, because that's very interesting to me. His mentor, who you mentioned earlier, is murdered in the book, and that's not giving too much away. That's right at the beginning.
Right.
His doctor, who is also studying and is very seriously interested in what happened with his brain, but from a scientific level,
Mhm.
um, is there's a he discusses at one point in another, I think it's in the first book, the idea that our brain is like a radio, right? And when you turn a channel, it can tune into certain things. And that by having this brain injury and having the plasticity of the brain change the shape, it's like almost like it allowed Mike Brink to tap into this other frequency that is there for all of us, but we just can't get there.
Understandable. Or even breaking the tuner and being able to go all over the spectrum.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Another way of looking at that would be, yeah, just
Yeah.
breaking the.
Right. But yet in the same respect, is it saying too much that is it Dr. Travers is the name of the,
Yes, Dr. Travers is the
yeah,
doctor.
is the doctor. He also believes that there may be a way to control this as well, that maybe through pharmacological means he can try to bring Mike back to normal, so to speak, or bring him back into a normal brain spectrum. But he never gets to that point, obviously, because he's murdered before he can do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what is at stake here for Mike. In the beginning, he's contemplating. It's a question I think that, we all would ask ourselves in this situation. Would I rather be happy and normal, or am I willing to suffer to be abnormal? Or not abnormal, gifted, right?
Right.
To be outside of the spectrum of what people consider to be normal. And, part of him knows that his gift is really that. It's a gift and nobody else can do what he can do. But then other people on the outside, he looks very successful and famous and, oh, he's a puzzle master. But inside, every day is a challenge. He's
Mhm.
not sleeping. He can't have relationships that work. It's just really hard. So it's a real question for him. Would I give all this up? And if I could take this cocktail of pills, from Dr. Travers, would I do it? And so that's the questions that are on his mind when Dr. Travers is killed.
Yeah.
And so it leaves him in this state of needing to find answers for himself.
And and you've set up this beautiful, I hate to use the the pun here, conundrum of his that he could be normal, but he has this wonderful challenge sitting in front of him that Sakura's brought him, which lures him like a siren song, right? I mean, it's the
Yeah.
ultimate challenge. Had it not been for Dr. Trevor's dying, that he would just go, no, you know what? I'm going to go talk to my doctor because I'm sure he'll put me in line and say, well, you know what? This is the ultimate puzzle box, which kills everybody who comes across it. And he would tell me, you know what? Walk away right now because, do you really want to lose your life over a puzzle box? It's insane. The fact of the matter is you probably shouldn't do this. Or, you can take the challenge and you probably are smart enough to beat this thing. Go ahead and see how far you can push your gift or your,
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think the line that Dr. Travers had said to Mike Brink was, you're living at the edge, you're basically living at the edge of your abilities, of your life
Mhm.
every time you do one of these things, right? And he needs to, like the chemicals that, I mean, from a science point of view, right? Like, so this is like where Dr. Travers is interesting, is that he's giving us a kind of scientific explanation of the brain. And from that point of view, like the chemicals that are flooding his brain every time he puts himself in danger and he's living on the edge of his own life every time he does something like this, he needs it. But Dr. Travers would probably try to, you're right, talk him down, bring him back.
Yeah.
Whereas I mean, it's a little bit like addiction, right? Like if you think about people, if you've known people who are addicted to certain things, especially drugs, they know very well that it's putting them in danger, and it's just they need it. And that's the tension that's going on underneath the surface with Mike Brink at every time he's doing a puzzle.
And so you have to ask yourself, is Dr. Trevor's the one who's right here? Is he buying into delusion and is he actually dealing with a disease, or is he truly gifted and is he is he just buying into using a gift? And is this not harming him at all? Is it, I
Or
mean,
and
you know,
yeah, I mean, and how have artists lived for, for a long time, right? Like you hear about artists who they need this this challenge of creating something,
mhm,
right? Whether it's painting or putting a novel together or whatever, and you know that you're missing that party and you're not paying attention to your spouse and
right.
you could be making more money and you could be having more fun, but there's something in you that you just need to write that novel, or you need to put that plot together or paint that painting or whatever it is. And I really do see that in, myself in some ways. Like I've written 8 books, and every one of them has been this sort of what's going to happen to me when I come out of this, is my husband going to still be here? Like, is the house going to have burned down? I don't know what's going on. I'm off doing this thing. And for me, it really speaks to something in human nature. So I would say, if I were, advising Mike Brink, I'd be like, leave it alone. But then again, he's really suffering.
Yeah, he is. Now, without getting too spoilerish here again, um, there's a little more danger to this than just showing up to the emperor and saying, "Okay, I'm here to play your game." Uh, there's other evil elements at play here, and things that don't necessarily want to see Mike get through this, or do want to see him get through this. Um, there's other elements around Sakura that operate around Sakura, and he doesn't know if he can trust Sakura right away. Um,
Yeah.
can you explain why Mike might not be able to trust Sakura? What is it around, and specifically around Dr. Trevor's death? There's something unusual that happens around Dr. Trevor's death that makes him take pause.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a natural death. Someone killed him. And we gradually, I don't want to give too much away either, but we gradually learn throughout the book, as we go deeper into the book, that there is a faction of a group of people who very much want what's in that box. And not only do they want what's in the box because it's valuable, right? Like a monetary value. No, it is something of a key that will unlock information for them. And Mike Brink could be the only person capable of unlocking that information because of his injury. So all of these pieces come together, and I don't want to give away, too much, but there's a larger mystery underneath just the mystery of opening the box.
And one of the things that's curious, it said to Mike, that makes you think that maybe there's more to it, because Rachel is the one who's telling him, you know what, there's more to you than just an injury here. You really have to believe in yourself. Sakura is kind of telling him the same thing, right? You kind of need to believe in yourself. So now he starts to think, well, maybe Dr. Travers wasn't completely right about the whole injury thing. So now he's doubting, and he's kind of, because Dr. Travers isn't around to kind of reinforce that this is an injury, right?
Right. And I think that will be a question that haunts Mike Brink, right? Like,
Yeah,
is this just an injury, or am I chosen in some way to
right.
to be the conduit for this information?
Yeah. And so it's an interesting story in that, and I think it's a story that plays out in a lot of people's lives. Is this, am I a victim of circumstance, or am I truly, is this something that I've meant to do? Right. And I think that plays out in a lot of people's life. Am I a victim of circumstance, or is this really something I'm meant to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think we all ask ourselves. I mean, even earlier when we were talking about Japan and past lives and karma, and you know, it's the tension between, is there a plan, or am I making it up as I'm going along,
Mhm.
right? Or is there something larger that I'm following? And can I somehow tap into it if I do certain things? Um, and I think all of us wonder about that. And
Yeah.
I know I do. And I find in my writing, um, I discover parts of myself, that connect up with various, questions that I have about the universe. And then I meet someone like you and your listeners who have also had those questions,
Mhm.
right? You
Mhm.
know, clearly there's a large group of us who have those questions. And I think that it's really it's both reassuring and inspiring to discuss them like this and to see that other people have experiences like that. But it also makes it sort of undeniable, right? When like
Ah,
there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that have the same questions, and you know the history of that search is really I think what fascinates me and is at the really the root of Mike Brink as a character. And you know this book, The Puzzle Master, which was the previous book, and you know any books in the future that I write.
so when you wrote The Puzzle Master, did you see the puzzle box sitting in front of you? Was it meant to be a natural progression, or did you think, well, maybe someday, or was it a natural fit for you, or did you see it coming down the line?
You know what's really weird is that never before has it happened, but I had the entire story of the puzzle box in my mind when I finished The Puzzle Master.
Oh.
And those I sold those two books. My editor Andrea Walker at Random House bought two books,
Mhm.
and I wrote out a summary of this of the puzzle box. And it, you know, it was very, you know, similar to what you read. I mean, obviously, it's a couple paragraphs, it's very different than a novel, but it's one of those things where I just knew what that book was going to be. And I sat down, and this is the first time this also has happened to me, and I wrote from the beginning to the end without taking a detour, without having to cut a lot of material, without having to change things. I just really wrote it, and it feels almost like a download. You might say. Like, so that one, this book really did come to me in that way. I'm really hoping that that happens to me again because it's such a pleasurable experience to write a book where you know what's going to happen rather than having to figure it out.
Is that almost a scary experience for you when something happens that naturally, a
Yeah, it's a
download
little
like that?
scary.
Yeah.
You know, as I said, I've written some nonfiction too, but this is my fourth novel, and never has it happened before.
Yeah. So if you tried to sit down and write the further adventures of anything coming off of this, because I'm not going to spoil anything coming off of this book, do you think it could come to you just as naturally, or do you think
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I haven't sat down with it and tried to formulate it
okay.
yet. I have a couple of ideas of what's next.
Mhm.
Um, and you know, which a lot of it has to do for me with location and then the characters. So I haven't gone there yet, but when I do, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Damn,
Sounds good.
I will send you a message and I'll be like, it's here.
All right. In the
Okay.
meantime, we need to manifest this whole Stephen Colbert thing. I don't know how we do
Yeah,
it.
we do. Come on, how is it going to happen?
I don't
Let's.
know, but we'll manage it somehow. It's just putting it out there in the universe, right?
Yeah, Mike Brink would be very happy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. So the name of the book is The Puzzle Box. Danielle Trussoni is the author. Again, pick it up, folks. Go get it. It's out there. It's a wonderful read for fall. It goes very quickly. It is such a wonderful book. And especially, again, you don't have to be a fan of Japanese theology or culture to get into it. It is that exciting of a read, folks. You get into it, it grabs you, you're along for the ride, and you're off and running. But I'll tell you, you're not going to want to put it down once you get into it. It is that good of a book. Um, Especially, and I'm telling you, for those of you who are big fans of Darkness Radio and the supernatural aspect of things, you're not going to be disappointed. There are plenty of supernatural elements to this book as well. So I'm telling you, I absolutely enjoyed this book. I was enthralled by it. I didn't want to put it down. I unfortunately had to put it down once to go to sleep. I had to force myself to go to sleep. I put it down, Danielle, at 5:30 in the morning.
No.
Yeah. To,
Oh,
to
wow.
get a couple hours sleep, and I picked it back up again to read it. So I forced myself to go to sleep. I didn't want to go to sleep, but I had to. So that's how enthralled I was with the book. But yeah, it was a very, very good book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The Puzzle Box is the name of the book. Go get it right now. Danielle, I want to thank you so much for being on with us today here on True
Oh, it
Crime.
was my pleasure. This was such fun, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, it's time now for us to, I don't think we can lighten it up anymore, but it's time for us to bring in Jessica Freeberg. It's time now for us to do some dumb crimes and stupid criminals.
It's Crayon News story time. What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time once again, the time we all look forward to. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. And with that, we need a co-hostess, and we bring her in right now. She's intelligent, she's witty, she's fun, and she's got 2 brand new books out there, which I trust you've now made her a New York Times bestseller. Right, people? Jess, what's the status? Are you now a New York Times bestselling author?
I don't think I am, but
Oh.
it's all right. I'm happy with whatever people buy. I was an Amazon bestseller, so we'll take that.
Well, okay, but I'm disappointed in our audience that they haven't catapulted you up yet to New York Times bestseller. I mean, have you heard from the Hindustan Times yet? Have you gotten to that point?
No, they need to reach out to me though. I'm
Okay,
here for it.
we're getting you there. We're getting you there.
Baby steps, Tim.
Baby steps. That's right. Well, we'll see. We'll see by the end of the week. There's still time. The Hindustan Times could call yet by the end of the week. We'll find out. I'll guarantee you this. By the end of the week, you'll get a call from the Hindustan Times saying, Jessica, we'd like to make you one of our bestsellers, along you and Natalie. Yes. You're on our bestsellers list for your 2 books. So there you go.
Perfect.
I did have someone ask me, Tim, it was Michael, as a matter of fact, in the Darkness Radio chat room as we were all arguing football on Sunday. Don't ask me why on Sundays in the chat room we're arguing football. I don't know. It's gone awry in the Darkness Radio chat room, which, by the way, if you want to join in on the reindeer games in the Darkness Radio chat room on Facebook, you go to our Facebook, one of our Facebook, we have 2 of them, Darkness Radio page, and look for the chat room and just join in. If you need the link, just hit me up on my page and I'll send you the link. But for some reason we got into teams. Oh, I know what it was. It was Steve, who is too proud of a 49ers fan, decided he was going to come back and try and boast about the 49ers loss to the Vikings last week. So I had to rub it into him one more week as to how bad of a team the 49ers are. They're not that bad, by the way. I just like having fun with them.
They're not that bad. They're good.
And then I found out that, well, they lost to the Rams on Sunday. So I got to just, needle them some more. Then on top of it, the a-hole I am, I found out it was Steve's birthday. So I was really an a-hole to him on his birthday.
Is that what you give people for their birthdays?
I
A
do.
little twist of the knife.
A little twist of the knife. I was a big a-hole to Steve on his birthday. So my apologies to Steve. I just gave him a bunch of crap about his team. Although he did admit that he's a Vikings fan, but they're way, way down there on his list.
We only tease the people we love.
That's right. That's right. We only give crap to the people we love, especially on their birthday. I told him he could go blow out his candles now that his team has blown the lead for a 2nd straight week. Was that too mean?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe.
Just a touch.
A touch. A skosh. It was a skosh mean. Yeah, so that's the kind of fun and revelry you can find at the Darkness Radio chat room on Sunday.
I actually just joined it. I don't even know how. Somehow it popped up and I clicked join. So I'm in there now.
There you go. Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Just don't.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, just don't come in on Sundays. I mean, yeah.
I won't come in on Sunday. I don't know. I don't have an opinion about football. So.
There you go. Well, just stay away from Sports Ball Sunday and you're fine. Right. But so Michael had said, well, do you know of any good reads? I said, of course, Jessica's 2 books. Go get them.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm working for you, kid.
They're all right. They're quick little reads. You can have fun with them.
See? So does your literary agent work that hard for you?
I feel like you need to get a percent just like she gets a cut.
I don't need a percentage. I'm just Just asking if your literary agent works that hard for you. That's
I
all.
was just explaining that to someone. I'm like, everybody takes a piece, my publisher, my agent, and then it comes to me. And I'm like, this is all that's left of the pie?
See, you should just have friends that just automatically promote. That's all. That's all.
That's right.
Right. I just expect friends of the show just to say, hey, you know what? There's this great show out there you should listen to.
I just write for the love of writing. I'm not trying to get rich. So that would be okay. I mean, I would take it.
It helps, right? It helps. It would help.
2 kids in college. It would help.
It would help. Right. It would help. So there you go. So by all means, folks, Natalie and Jess need your help. So
That's right. We both have 2 kids in college. We really need your help.
That's right. So 2 kids in college each, 2 books out there. Buy them up.
Just buy them.
Yeah. They make great holiday gifts. They're great reads. You need something.
They're fun.
It's a great time of year to sit out on the porch and I'm doing it right now, sitting out on the porch and reading both books.
Yay.
Huh. In fact, I think I scared the hell out of Spud with one of them today. So it was great. It was great because I've got Speechify. So what I did is I loaded up the books in Speechify and then I was playing them out loud. I wasn't wearing my headphones. So Spud kind of looked at me like, huh? When Spud heard about one of the monsters, it was like, what? What did that monster do? Okay, I'm going in, Dad.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah. So, well, you wrote too good of a book, evidently. Just saying. So,
thank you.
Yeah, Scared of Chipmunk. Congratulations.
I did feel bad when I first started writing and my first book came out. My son wouldn't read it. He read the first chapter and he was like, it's too scary, Mom. I can't read it. I was like, I feel bad that I scared my kid, but as a writer, I was like, yes.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Then you got a good test subject. Then you sit them down and make them read every book. See?
Yep.
That's how you do it. Right?
If it's too scary, it's just right.
That's right. That's right. I probably had the opposite effect with my nephew. He started listening to shows and went, that's really cool. I'm going to listen to more. And I went, oh God, no, I demented him. Probably bad, uncle, bad. Yeah. Probably not a good thing. Just saying. By the way, our guest today, Danielle Trussoni, the book is The Puzzle Box, has little bits and pieces of the supernatural in that. So there's mentions of the Akashic records in there, stuff like that. So yeah. I never thought that, I shouldn't say I never thought, but with a thriller and with a work of fiction, you almost never expect there to be supernatural elements in that. Sometimes in our true crime genre, we get bits and pieces of the paranormal or supernatural. But I mean, to have a thriller that kind of throws that stuff in there, I was kind of excited to read The Puzzle Box this week. So yeah, it was kind of cool. So yeah, refer back to the first part of this program to, some people skip ahead to Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. I'm finding this out, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. Some people are like, I skip ahead to Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. I'm like, do you what? So
I do the opposite. Well, I've already heard this because we did it together, but
so you listen to the interview. I get you. Well, speaking of, we should jump into the big program today. Lots of good stories today, Jess. Lots of odd stories today. Today is kind of a hodgepodge of potpourri. But of course we do have the not safe for work category. It's an odd one today as well. But our first story is innocent enough. Today's story takes place over in Ireland, where, we always, I shouldn't say we always, there's that Irish stereotype of, McDonald and McDonald or McDonough and McDonough, 2 people with the same last names and them being Irish stereotypes. Well, we have one of those stories today, as there's double trouble in Ireland. Burglars, and 2 of them with the same name, are jailed after teaming up for a crime spree. That's right. 2 men with the same last name teamed up for a crime spree and were caught and jailed at the same time. 2 men with the same name who paired up for a 10-day crime spree have been jailed. And we're talking the exact same name, Jess. Bernie McDonough, 56, of Heather Close in Romford, Romford McDonough, and Bernie McDonough, 35, of Villiers Street in Coventry, or Coventry McDonough, were this week sentenced to combined 6 years and 9 months.
First and last name the same?
Yes, Bernie McDonough and Bernie McDonough.
That's wild.
Yeah. During 10 days in August, the namesakes traveled around Warwickshire in a black Lexus, targeting homes and stealing items, including a TV and jewelry. The McDonoughs were of the opinion that they could go from house to house across the country and take what they liked when they liked without any repercussions. I see what I did there. I flipped the letters. It was kind of fun. Said D.I. Alan Hands of Warwickshire Police. On August 1st of this year, the McDonoughs attempted to break into property on Birchwood Road in Binley Woods, Coventry, but only succeeded in damaging the lock and door frame. They were both seen to drive up in a black Lexus and reverse onto the drive at the time when the damage was caused. 5 days later, the pair broke into a property on Coventry Road in Bulkington through the rear door. A 55-inch television, 6 watches, and a necklace with a total value of around 3,100 pounds were taken from the property. Again, both men were seen on camera arriving in a black Lexus and later loading the television into their vehicle. I have to show you the picture of these two. Now, I say there's no relation, but don't they look like they're related?
They do. They have the same kind of scowl.
They do, don't they? The same downturned mouth, the same hairstyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they definitely look like they could be related.
They look like either uncle and nephew or father and son, or they look like,
Yeah, the one guy looks a little older than the other.
yeah, they look like they're of the same ilk. I don't know. It's just the older guy has a bit more of a fatty neck or jowls, or yeah. On August 10th on Main Street in Wiley, the McDonoughs were witnessed breaking into a property and spending 5 minutes inside before leaving in a black Lexus. This was also captured on CCTV footage. An untidy search had been conducted inside the property, leading to the theft of a jewelry box. In addition to the above, on November 22nd last year, Romford McDonough broke into a property on Bridge Avenue in Upminster, Essex, through the back door. Cash for various currencies was taken on the property, in addition to 2 valuable watches with the value of the items totaling around 5,500 pounds. DNA from the hammer used to break the glass on the rear door was analyzed and traced back to Romford McDonough. They don't do that in the States. You know that?
They don't do DNA testing?
No, not on a simple burglary.
I suppose not.
Hmm.
Huh. Just murders and stuff. Big
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, but they don't do that here in the States. If you have a simple burglary and if it's done with a hammer, like a smash and grab, they won't test stuff like that. They think that that's just a waste of resources. I find
Not a waste of resources if it's your stuff.
no, not at all, not at all. This week, Romford McDonough was sentenced at Warwick Crown Court to 4 years, 9 months, and 2 weeks in prison, as well as requirement to pay a victim surcharge of 228 pounds. He was also disqualified from holding a driving license for 270 days. Boy, they really throw the book at him over there. You know that?
They do.
Yeah.
Do you think they have a little less of that type of crime then because they're deterred from it?
I think so. Yeah. His sentence relates to 3 counts of burglary, 1 count of attempted burglary, 1 count of going equipped for burglary, driving without insurance, and driving while disqualified. At the same court, Coventry McDonough was sentenced to 2 years in prison, as well as requirement to pay a victim surcharge of 187 pounds. This was in relation to 2 counts of burglary, 1 count of attempted burglary, and 1 count of going equipped for burglary. Like I said, they throw the book at him. They used the same car each time and were caught on CCTV repeatedly, indicating that they took very little care in trying to remain unseen, said D.I. Hands. D.I. Hands sounds like a kid's character, it should be like a judge who keeps his hands like this the entire time.
It does.
Like a cartoon judge. It has been a pleasure for us to bring this little piece of reality to them through this prison sentence, D.I. Hands went on to say, and to give the victims of these burglaries the reassurance that they have been suitably punished for their crimes. Go figure. But here in the States, if you were to break out a window with a hammer, you wouldn't DNA test it, and those guys would go free.
No, cops would be like, just another Tuesday.
That's right. Yep. Go figure. Well, maybe your stuff will turn up somewhere. That's all we can hope for. This story is very unusual, Jess. I pulled this story for a reason because I've never heard of anything like this. And again, this takes place across the pond. The headline on this story is "A Remote Village is Plagued by a Mystery Poison Pen Letter," or letters. Now, you would think that a crime would happen, but to follow up with a letter of insult on top of it would be unusual, right? Kind of like a haha, gotcha type of deal, and then add insult to injury, right? Well, personal, obscene, and targeted letters are being sent out to create a village of poison, residents are saying. Horrible anonymous letters are being posted to people living in Shipton Thorpe, North Yorkshire, in a campaign that has lasted 2 years. Police are aware, but so far the writer has not been found, and the letters remain a major topic of intrigue in the local Facebook group. One letter tells its recipient, whose home has been damaged by floods, that the writer hopes for lots of rain so your house can be flooded again and again, and you are washed away, never to be seen again.
That's mean.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Another person is told everyone agrees you should rot in hell and hope cancer finds you very soon.
What?
Yeah.
Those are evil remarks.
The letters are printed on white paper and delivered in standard white envelopes. Writing on a Facebook group for local residents, one man wrote, "I too have received a nasty letter recently, which was disgusting." I don't know what to say. There's more to the story. However, grab the rest of the story here. However, it was reported to the police at some point the police might actually find out who is behind the hatred in Shipton Thorpe and thinks they have the right to decide who lives in the village. The case has similarities to the true story behind Wicked Little Liars, the foul-mouthed film starring Olivia Colman, in which anonymous poison pen letters were sent out in Littlehampton in Sussex in the 1920s. Facebook user Barry Stockdale posted last week claiming he calculates that the police have received at least a dozen complaints, with one person reporting at least 4 letters. Giving some background to the issue, he said that the first letters were sent out to local counselors in 2022 and have grown in numbers since then. He said he has asked police what was being done about it, and they told him they had received reports and asked anyone with information about it to phone them on the non-emergency 101 line. Humberside police confirmed to the BBC it had investigated some of the letters, saying of one, inquiries were carried out at the time, including reviewing CCTV. However, the content of the alleged letter was unavailable, and subsequently no further investigative opportunities were able to be obtained. Regarding another letter, they told the broadcaster officers reviewed the letter. However, the content was not found to contain any aggressive language, and it was established that no criminal offenses had been committed. One resident called Jason told the BBC that the letters had a toxic effect on the small community. It's a wonderful village with wonderful people, but someone has brought poison to this village. In my opinion, I believe this constitutes a hate crime. So someone's just writing these mean, nasty letters to people in the village and circulating them.
Like the original troll.
Yeah.
You know?
Just a troll. Yeah. But people are up in arms about it, which I can't blame them. You could say, I mean, on one hand, you could say, well, grow some tougher skin. But
Yeah.
when it's personal, I mean, things like I wish you'd rot in hell, or I wish you'd get cancer, or things like that. I mean, it's pretty tough stuff to swallow. Right?
Yeah. I think I would just read it and laugh and then toss it in the trash.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, here in America, though, I mean, we have a different set of, I don't want to say a different set of rules, but I mean, we do tend to have a little tougher skin where we're like, if we don't know who it is that sent it, that, we tend to let it roll off our back and continue on with life. But We forget that, when you talk about a curse word, right? That sometimes words have meaning and carry weight. And when someone throws that at you, it's literally a curse, right?
Yeah, that's true. Legit.
Yeah. And so when someone wishes you ill will and puts it in writing and then sends it to you and receive it, sometimes in countries like in Europe, that carries a lot of weight, especially if you receive something like that. So it carries a lot more meaning, um, especially outside the US than it does here. Here, I think we just kind of, would throw it away and think it was nothing, think it was rubbish. But
Yeah. Turn it into some really scratchy toilet paper.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Our next story, Jess, I'm going to make a bit of a joke here. You may think it's tasteless, but I think it's kind of funny. A New Jersey man was charged with purposely hitting a goose with an e-bike, and believe it or not, he wasn't Haitian. I'm just kidding. It's I know, and he's not from Ohio. Look at me making a tasteless joke.
Too soon.
Too soon, I know. Police in Hudson County say they arrested a 30-year-old man accused of purposely ramming his e-bike into a goose while riding the vehicle in a waterfront park in Hoboken. Why do people do that?
I think it would hurt you worse than it would hurt the goose. Big.
Well, geese are pretty sturdy animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they chase after children.
They chase after my children. Have I told you that story?
I have one too, but go ahead, tell me yours.
Oh, my girls just went for a walk, and we have so many geese in our neighborhoods. We have a lot of ponds around here, and they were rollerblading, and the geese had their goslings with them, and they were getting closer. The girls were, and the geese just freaked out and started chasing them. But when they came home to show me, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen because they reenacted it. So one of them pretended to be the kid, and one of them pretended to be the goose. And so they were like running around, like with their arms flailing and their neck bobbing back and forth, chasing each other. They're like, it was so scary.
That's probably funnier than my story. I was back when we were younger, my grandparents, they lived over in Brooklyn Park, and they had a in the I shouldn't say the facility they were in. God, that makes them sound like they were in jail. In the townhome complex, it wasn't a townhome complex either, because
They were in the asylum back in the day.
Yes, back when they were in Arkham Asylum. No, in the housing, it wasn't a housing complex either. Jesus, what was it? A subdivision. That's what it was. God, I'll get to the words.
Words are hard today.
They're hard today, Jess. Subdivision they were in. I mean, they had a nice, beautiful big home. They had a pond in back of where all the homes were, but it was more like a drainage pond, really, than anything else. I mean, they set up this pond. It was supposed to look beautiful, but it was just a drainage pond, is what it was. It's where all the runoff water went. But all these geese hung out, and geese and ducks hung out back there. And, occasionally my grandfather would throw the old bread at them, right? Whatever they had that, well, bread was going bad, he'd throw bread at them.
Yeah.
No, you weren't supposed to feed them bread, right? But so these geese were back there, and they were back there, there's all these flocks of geese back there. Well, my little sister used to love to go back there, and, she wanted to throw bread at them, but I think she was maybe 5 or 6 years old at the time. I mean, she wasn't very big at all. Well, the geese were like eye level with her.
Yeah,
Right?
they're big.
Yeah. And they're Canadian geese, right? So she's going to throw bread out to them. Well, she got a little too close, like you said. One of the geese had goslings with her, not Ryan Gosling. Don't get me wrong. But she's trying to throw bread to the little baby geese, and the mother's getting upset, and she starts hissing at Steph. And so Steph goes back at her. She's like, I got bad breath too. And the mother takes off after her. Well, Steph's like, and she's running with the bread. And we kind of stepped in between the mother and and Steph, so she wouldn't peck her eyes out or whatever, but, and kind of chased after her so she'd back off, the mother. But I mean, she was mad, like she was going to go after.
They're aggressive.
Yeah.
Especially those mamas.
Yeah. But I mean, but they were exactly the same eye length. I mean, they were eye to eye with each other. And she would have taken my sister down, you know,
Yeah.
pecked her eyes out. But yeah, they're mean. Geese are mean. No excuse to go over a goose with an e-bike.
No, never.
No. But this man in Hudson County was arrested, 30-year-old man accused of purposely ramming his e-bike into a goose while riding the vehicle in a waterfront park in Hoboken. The incident occurred on September 11th when Hoboken police responded to reports of an individual intentionally striking a goose at about 5:35 p.m. at Pier A Park on Sinatra Drive, officials said. Oh, Frank is proud. I'll tell you that much right now. The suspect was identified as Andrew Mullen of Hoboken, according to city police. Mullen was arrested and taken to Hoboken Police Headquarters, where he was charged with cruelty to animals and received a complaint summons for riding an e-bike on a walkway. According to police, additional details about the incident were not available on Sunday, including whether the goose was seriously injured. So there you go. I have heard it on good authority that the goose is suing them, along with
As he should.
for 1 million crackers and a few loaves of bread. So that's what they're doing.
Easy.
Yeah, easy peasy. We move on. We're going to Florida, where I got this story from Corey. Thank you very much, Corey. If you have a story for us for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, send it in tim@darknessradio.com. Jess, according to this story, a Florida man in his underwear is accused of burglarizing and damaging a mini golf course.
I can see it in my mind.
And you should probably keep it there because reality is worse than what I'm sure you're fantasizing. We go to Fort Myers Beach, Florida, where a Florida man was taken to jail after he allegedly burglarized a mini golf course while wearing only underwear. Because when you're going to take over a mini golf course, probably only in your underwear is the best way to do it. The Lee County Sheriff's Office said the incident happened last week at the Smuggler's Cove Adventure Golf in Fort Myers Beach. Smuggler's Cove, because that's what's sitting in your drawers. Just saying.
Seems appropriate.
Yeah. On September 13th, shortly after 4:30 a.m., deputies responded to the mini golf course because the company's alarm had activated. At the scene, deputies heard loud banging noises and a man talking. They soon came across 38-year-old Francisco 14 Mayorga, who was wearing nothing but his underwear. According to a arrest report, he appeared aggressive and in an altered mental state. I have to show you a picture of him here, Jess. And he was sweating, by the way. According to the report, on the property, deputies observed several broken decorations, a broken door window, a door that had been forced open along with a broken fire extinguisher. Here is Francisco 14 Mayorga right here.
All right. So whitey tighties or boxer briefs?
Oh, that's a good
Or
question.
just regular old boxers? What kind of underwear are we talking about here?
Well, I think if you're going to hit the mini golf course, I think probably a boxer brief combination is your best bet.
I think so too. I feel like the whitey tighties, but you'd get cold. There's not enough coverage.
Well, and you're bound. I mean, you're going to want some flexibility for when you swing.
True
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to want some support. You're going to want room. You're going to want room for the boys because you're going to be active. So
I hope they weren't holy.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they get holy.
You're right.
My dad always had, you know, his Sunday underwear, his holy underwear.
Sunday underwear. Gosh, I'm so sorry you were traumatized by that.
I know, and he'd just walk around the house and I'm like, it was no big deal.
Mm.
There are so many aspects of my childhood that explain a lot about me.
I kind of feel like women in the US are kind of all traumatized by that. I know there are plenty of men that were traumatized by that. I myself was traumatized by my dad's tidy whities, that
Did your dad just walk around in them too?
and cowboy boots. I kind of feel
Right?
like, yeah.
And now you can't get away with that. Your
No.
kids see you in your underwear now and they freak out. I remember one time I was running from one room to another in my underwear and my son, like, he's like, oh, my eyes. And I was like, hey, people would pay big money for this.
That's right. That's right. There's plenty of listeners that would pay big money for that. I'm just saying. But but I digress. But I'm just saying. Where was I? Oh yeah. We were talking about, holy underwear. My dad, I'm trying to get back to my dad here. Cowboy boots and tidy whities.
That's the best.
Yeah. I don't know.
Just cowboy boots in his underpants.
Yeah. I mean, today we call it a ditty party, but I mean, that's, yeah. But for some reason,
Oh, that might be my favorite joke of the day. Try to outdo it. See if you can.
yeah. Back to our story. 2 other fire extinguishers appeared to be missing as well, as they were not located inside their proper containers. So
Ooh, where did he hide them?
it was a foam party over there at the, the golf course. Deputies reviewed video surveillance, which showed Mayorga arriving at the property and maliciously ripping down signs, breaking a window and gate, ripping down a motion detector, causing approximately $490 in damage. There's another picture here, but there's a man fully dressed. I don't know where the only in his underwear comes in.
Would he start out in his clothes and just in the heat of passion as he was tearing stuff apart?
And that's what golf does to us, doesn't it? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a golf course and just by the time I get to the 6th hole, I'm like, screw these clothes. I gotta,
especially mini golf, Tim.
Right. I gotta be free. I've seen the clown's mouth and now I need to get naked. I don't know. By the way, Mayorga was arrested and taken to the Lee County Jail on multiple charges, including burglary and criminal mischief, not to mention just bad taste and all things mini golf.
Being generally weird.
Yeah, just being generally.
Is that a crime?
That's a crime in itself.
Should be.
Yeah. Hey, it's time now for our airline passenger criminal of the week. It seems like weekly now we're running into somebody on an airliner who can't keep it together. Although supposedly these crimes are going down. I mean, not going down as in the planes going down, but like
there are less of them.
Yes, there are less. That's what I meant. Not that they're taking the plane down with them. This one is on Ryanair. A passenger screams, "Meet me outside this aircraft," in a foul-mouthed rant. Can you do that?
Like now, while we're in the sky?
Yeah, I was going to say, can you do that when you're up in the air? Meet me
like on the wing?
Yeah. Like we're going to do a Shatner fight is what they call it. I think it's, I don't know what that is.
We're like Tom Cruise, but we don't have stunt doubles.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
No, he doesn't either though. So.
Yeah. Well, he does.
Oh, does he now?
I just saw a story about his stunt double. He's had a stunt double since what was the movie? It's a long time stunt double.
Oh, I thought he was doing all his own stunts.
He does, but he has a stunt double for when it gets way too dangerous.
Well, that's fair.
You know the stunt from Mission Impossible where he's hanging off the cliff?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a stunt
double.
Yeah, because the movie company got really, really nervous about it, and they demanded that stunt double come in and sub for him because they could just see Tom Cruise because it was 1,000-foot drop.
Oh my goodness.
So Tom started out doing that stunt and hanging from that cliff by just 2 arms. And they said, no. Get his stunt double in there to finish that stunt. Because they just imagined Tom Cruise at the bottom of that ravine, like nothing but a puddle.
Yeah, movie over.
Yeah. So they said, no. You have him finish the stunt. So no, was I watching that? His stunt double was on. Oh, there's a series on Vice called Icons Unearthed. And it's called Icons Unearthed Tom Cruise. And it talks about the different parts of his career. And they have a whole section on the Mission Impossible series.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, if you get a chance to check it out, you'll see that his actual stunt double, and his stunt double's been with him since. In fact, he met his stunt double. His stunt double was Val Kilmer's stunt double on the Batman movie that Val Kilmer did, which was Batman Forever. I think.
Oh,
Yeah. And the only reason why is because Tom Cruise's wife at the time was in Batman Forever. So, and Tom was on the set for that and said, "Hey, you're really good, and you kind of look like me. Would you like to be my stunt double?" And then picked him up from there, and he started being his stunt double. So
well, maybe we could hire this guy to be our stunt double next time we get threatened on an airplane.
that's right. Although he looks nothing like me.
He
So,
probably doesn't look anything like me either.
well, but maybe we could
Maybe.
put him in a wig. Yeah. Yeah. But this furious Ryanair passenger was filmed shouting, "Meet me outside the aircraft," in a tirade of abuse. Footage shared on TikTok shows the passenger screaming at someone else, thought to be a member of the cabin crew, "Go outside. Let's go outside, you mouthy little effing," it rhymes with bunt.
Ooh, I don't like that word.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good boy.
you're welcome. She points at the woman who is off camera and says, "Look at you. She's still smirking. Effing hold my phone. She's still smirking." Ooh, she was going to mix it up.
Wow, hold my phone. We're getting
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. Hold my phone. Well, you can't hold the phone like this and punch somebody. It hurts.
You could break your phone too.
Well, you break your knuckles before you break your phone, especially the new ones, like the 14 and 15, the iPhones. They're supposed to be unbreakable. Just saying.
Really?
Yeah. I say give it a try. Why not? That's why they give you phone coverage.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to get arrested before you get coverage. Just saying. She then pushes up against a number of security guards while her friend urges her to stop. The person she is targeting then seems to get off the plane, at which point the woman tells her to meet me outside this aircraft, you mouthy effing bitch. Yeah. I don't think that ever works. I don't think that trick ever works.
I don't think so.
No, you know who meets you off the plane to square up?
Security.
Yeah, a ranger. Yeah, and then they handcuff you and take you to jail. And you know who always wins that fight, Jess? The ranger.
That's right.
Always wins that fight 10 times out of 10 because they have guns and tasers. Just saying. She also points out of the plane and shouts, "I'm going to make you famous."
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, what? Huh?
Make me famous?
What? Okay.
Wasn't that out of Young Guns? I'm going to make you famous.
It literally was. And I just watched that movie a few weeks ago. I love that you just referenced that. Brilliant.
I'll make you famous. Earlier this month, Ryanair boss Michael O'Leary admitted there's been a notable rise in bad behavior caused by drinking and drugs. By the way, this is what this pit bull looks like.
Oh my goodness. Right in the midst of screaming. Oh, that angry face.
Yeah, isn't she attractive?
She looks like a demon.
She does, doesn't she? The rise in bad behavior caused by drinking and drugs has led to assaults on cabin crew, which Mr. O'Leary said now happens on a weekly basis. See, that's why we have these stories on a weekly basis. Yeah.
That's so sad.
The worst fight for bad behavior was the party island of Ibiza. Or worst flight for bad behavior was the party island of Ibiza. Ibiza is by far and away the worst destination for it, with flights departing from regional airports such as Liverpool, Glasgow, and Manchester being the most likely culprits for passengers getting out of control, said Mr. O'Leary. He's now proposing a 2-drink rule on holiday makers flying out from UK airports. Geez, look at you can tell, pardon my language, this woman is shit-faced. Take a look at her.
Oh, she totally is.
Yeah. She's got the look of, back when we used to have family reunions. She looks like the most soused woman at the Trombley family reunion right there.
Yeah. And I can just imagine her screaming,
Yeah.
"Meet me outside."
Meet me outside.
The words all slurred.
I'm going to make you famous. Yeah, she's got that look. She does. She looks like she's probably about 8 to 10 in right now. He said most of our passengers show up an hour before departure. That's sufficient for 2 drinks. But if your flight is delayed by 2 or 3 hours, you can't be guzzling 5, 6, 8, 10 pints of beer. Boy, for 2 hours, 10 pints of beer? What are you,
I
shotgun?
can't imagine.
You got to be shotgunning to get 10 pints in.
I'll just be passed out. I'd be a nice docile passenger. Just buckle me in. Wake me up
Right?
when we get there.
You got to pour somebody in their seat to have 10 pints. He says, go and have a coffee or a cup of tea. It's not an alcoholics outing. What we're asking for won't affect profit. The bars can still sell their drinks and food. Ryanair has been contacted for comment. Well, I think their comment would be sober up before you jump on board. All right. Our next couple of stories have to do with unfortunate police that have run amok of the law.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it'll be fun. We're going to Chattanooga for the first one. A former Chattanooga officer is decertified after a stun gun incident with a deputy. Whoops. Some people can't control their stun guns. We're just saying. We're going to Chattanooga, Tennessee. A former Chattanooga police officer has been decertified by the Tennessee Post Commission after an internal affairs investigation revealed he used a stun gun on a Hamilton County employee, or deputy at that matter. Sergeant Terry Barnes with CPD's Internal Affairs Department says Officer Batterson removed the taser from another female officer who was sitting with all 3 of them and removed the cartridge and proceeded to stun this officer with the sheriff's department. Oh my gosh. I believe it's Keltane Batterson faced a total of 3 internal affairs investigations. One coming from a deadly officer involved shooting last year. Batterson was among 3 officers placed on leave after the death of Roger Hurd. Another incident involved Batterson using a stun gun on a deputy. Investigators say the deputy was on duty guarding a prisoner at a hospital. During the meeting, officials say the deputy wondered what it was like to have a stun gun used on them. This is never a good thing.
Oh, no.
This is never a good. Yikes. Officials say Batterson then took a stun gun from another officer and used it on the deputy after the deputy wondered what it was like to have the stun gun used on them. She couldn't believe that he actually did that. And from her perspective, she laughed it off because she was afraid that the other officers would not support her if she had to get a physical, or if she had to get physical with the prisoners she was guarding. She was really at a loss for words when this occurred, Sergeant Barnes said. The Post Commission voted unanimously to decertify Batterson at that point. Batterson and the city of Chattanooga also face a civil lawsuit for the death of Hurd. Sounds like things aren't going well in Chattanooga.
I think Patterson has some issues.
Yeah, just a few. I mean, I wonder what it's like to get tased. Well, let me show you. I mean,
I was just asking my niece that because she is a police officer and they had to get tased during part of their training. And I was like, if you pee your pants, and she's like, it doesn't work that way. You don't just pee your pants because you get tased. Like, well, I think I would.
Well, supposedly a little dribble, but I don't know that for sure. I've never been tased, but I can tell you that my sister's ex was the first recipient of I'll just say one of the Southern Metro's first taser systems. When he ran amok of the law, they said, congratulations. That's the first time we've ever fired this. When he tried to run from them, they put it right in his thigh and gave him a couple of shocks when he didn't go down the first time. And he said it hurt. And yes, he did pee a little and he crapped himself.
See, I knew it. Everything evacuates. Your body's like, oh no.
Well, because he didn't want to go down the first time. So they really gave it to him.
You had to amp up the juice, huh?
Yeah. He was kind of stupid. Yeah. So Yeah, if he would have just went down the first time, just went, "Mommy," and then, then yeah, I'm sure they would have went easy on him, but he didn't, and so they let him have it full force. So, well, God love him. With that, we go on to our next story. Our next story, I believe, let me see here. This is in Marion County. Marion County is in Florida. We're going to Florida, kids.
All right.
Of course. A Marion County deputy kills his girlfriend with a rifle while teaching her how to clean guns.
Oh no, that's terrible.
That is terrible. But you know what they say, always check the chamber. Probably want to do that. You probably want to.
Solid advice.
Yeah, always want to take the bullets out of your gun before you start cleaning it. That's rule number 1 when teaching gun safety. Just saying. We go to Ocala, Florida, where a former Marion County Sheriff's deputy was arrested Thursday under suspicion of manslaughter after his girlfriend was shot in the head and killed, according to the Ocala Police Department. Police officers responded to a home in the Highlands area shortly after 11 p.m. for reports of a shooting. Men identified as Leslie Boileau, a former Marion County Sheriff's deputy, told 911 dispatchers that he had accidentally shot his girlfriend while the two were cleaning firearms. That, according to a news release. The deputy described it as an accidental discharge. Boileau told officers that he and his girlfriend went to dinner early Thursday night and had 3 margaritas each. Okay, you never want to clean your guns after 3 margaritas each.
Seriously, come on.
Yeah, I know. This is a Darwin Award winner right here. When the two returned home, he noticed a package of gun cleaning supplies he ordered online had arrived. Oh, that's the perfect time then. Honey, we've had 3 margaritas each. How about we sit down and clean some guns?
Very bad idea, Tim.
Yeah, not a good idea. He said his girlfriend inquired about how to clean a firearm. So he said, "Oh, well, honey, let me show you." What? Oh, God. Jess. Only
So
in Florida.
sad, Tim. I can't stand this one.
Only in Florida, right? I mean, we wouldn't do that in Minnesota, would we?
No, heavens no. And he's in law enforcement. He should understand gun safety.
Right. Right. I mean, and he's a cop.
Yeah.
He should probably say, "Well, honey, we've had 3 margaritas each. Maybe we should, wait until morning." Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're all excited over the cleaning supplies, right? But, we should probably wait till morning.
Do you think she was really excited over? I just can't imagine a woman being like, "Ooh, gun cleaning. Can we?"
Let's see. Well, I can either let you take me to the bedroom and please me, or you can clean guns with me.
Like, this is the weirdest foreplay ever.
Right. But I'm intrigued. Marion County Sheriff's Office says Boileau was immediately terminated, by the way. No doubt. By the way, Boileau stated he grabbed the rifle and dry fired it one time. Oh, God. Jesus.
That is a bad day.
It is a bad day. The story skipped ahead slightly. Let me get to it here. Boileau told officers that he and his girlfriend went to dinner. They had 3 margaritas each. When the two returned home, he noticed a package of gun cleaning supplies he had ordered online, and it had arrived. He said his girlfriend inquired about how to clean a firearm. He began teaching and showing her how to disassemble and clean an AR-style rifle and a 9mm handgun without taking the bullets out.
Oh.
He admitted the two were pointing the guns at each other, which he knew was wrong.
Why? Why would you do that? So much stupidity in this story.
He said he allowed his girlfriend to dry fire the 9mm handgun. Why? Boileau started, he grabbed the rifle and dry fired it one time. On the second dry fire attempt, Boileau had forgotten that he placed the loaded magazine into the rifle, which shot one live round in the direction of his girlfriend, ultimately killing her. Why are you dry firing anything at anybody?
Yes. Why are you so stupid?
And why are you aiming it directly at somebody directly? Why are you dry firing it directly at somebody? Why wouldn't you
Yeah,
aim it over their head? Especially if it's
w
somebody you love. Oh,
exactly, why is that fun?
why are you even doing it at all? If you pick up a weapon and you aim it at somebody, you should be aiming to kill, right?
Yeah, that's what I was taught.
Yeah. If you're aiming it at something, you're aiming to kill. You don't do that for fun. There's nothing fun about that. Okay. During a second interview, he told detectives that he and his girlfriend had previously done similar training. That's not training, but described his actions Thursday night as sloppy. That's beyond sloppy. That's stupid. The Marion County Sheriff's Office said Boileau was immediately terminated. He had been with the department for 8 years, according to the agency. The Ocala Police Chief Mike Balkin said in a statement, "We're deeply saddened by the tragic incident. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the victim's family and loved ones during this incredibly difficult time." Sheriff Billy Wood said in a statement, "We are heartbroken for the family and friends of the victim. Tens of thousands of law enforcement officers do their job commendably every day, but unfortunately, the tragic actions of just one are felt throughout the entire law enforcement community." Stupid, stupid, stupid. But of course, that's the theme of this show, right?
That's right, we wouldn't be talking about him if he wasn't stupid.
Our next story has to do with a woman who disrupted a flight, another flight, en route to rehab.
Oh, no.
Cops say a vodka beverage enraged a tipsy passenger. Of course, she was headed to Florida to a rehab facility. Touche. This happened back in June. We're just getting word of it now. A woman en route to a Florida rehab facility allegedly disrupted a Spirit Airlines flight. She took a cheap flight to rehab, by the way, after consuming vodka beverages, according to police. 40-year-old Heather Lynn Dykeman was traveling to or from Baltimore to the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport when the trouble began on flight 443, according to Broward County Sheriff's Office. A flight attendant told deputies that Dykeman had been served 2 vodka beverages and that it appeared that the 40-year-old passenger was becoming intoxicated. So the airline employee refused to serve her further alcoholic beverages. After being cut off, Dykeman, a Rockville, Maryland resident, became very angry and yelling, using profanity and disturbing the operation of the flight. While demanding more booze, Dykeman left her seat and went to a gallery area where she yelled, "Stop sending your house blank to do the messages for you." And it wasn't a nice word. It started with an N.
These people get so foul-mouthed when they're drunk.
They do. Warned that she was violating FAA regulations, Dykeman allegedly did not relent and continued yelling, making racial slurs, cursing, and making obscene gestures. The one with the middle finger, by the way, to the crew during the entirety of the flight. Upon landing, Dykeman continued her tirade when confronted by deputies who met the flight. She was arrested after continuing to use profanity and racial slurs in front of approximately 300 passengers in the concourse. Charged with misdemeanor disorderly conduct, Dykeman was booked into the Broward County Jail. During a video arraignment, she told the judge that "I came down for a 30-day rehab program, but she'll end up with a few months of it in jail, I'm sure." Dykeman was later released from custody after posting a $250 bond. Judge John Hurley ordered her to not consume alcohol while on pretrial release and to stay off Spirit Airlines flights. I'm sure they're happy about that. So there you go.
She'll have to fly Sun Country now.
That's right. It's time now for our Not Safe for Work part of our program. So if you're at work, put in your earbuds and stay away from the employees and especially your boss. If you're at home, get the kids away from their listening device and put in your earbuds. Earbuds are the theme here today, especially for this next story. You don't want to listen to this around the kids unless you want to give them ideas about a punishment. This would be a bad punishment. We're going to Oklahoma. We're an Oklahoma couple has been arrested after 2 young boys were found covered in feces in a completely disgusting home, Jess.
Hmm.
I don't know that this would deter any kids if you covered them in feces, but evidently one couple thought so.
Oh, that's so terrible.
It is. An Oklahoma couple was arrested this month after their 2 small boys were found covered in feces in a home so horrid that authorities were forced to wear hazmat suits when they entered.
Oh no.
That's bad.
Oh,
3 children under the age of 5 were saved from the revolting home on September 12th, and Dakota Dodd, who's 24, and Aubriana Freeman, 22, were taken into custody on child neglect charges. Oklahoma City police said officers arrived at the home after a concerned neighbor called in a tip. Police were led to a bedroom by Dodd where the boys, aged 3 and 4, were found with dried feces on them.
oh,
Yikes. Here's what Master Sergeant Gary Knight told KOCO. Feces on the wall, feces on the kids. It was a completely disgusting scene. Ew. When they went inside, the officers described almost becoming overcome by the smell of feces and urine inside the residence. Disgusting. Young victims had feces caked into their fingernail beds, palms of their hands, feet, legs, and faces, according to the police report obtained by Law and Crime. The report detailed the horrid conditions of the entire home, including piles of what appeared to be human feces on the second floor and a bedroom floor covered in multiple piles of smeared and flattened human feces, according to the outlet. I'm setting a record for the word feces in a...
you are.
Aren't I? Yeah. Because the conditions were so stomach-turning, investigators later wore hazmat suits when probing the crime scene. Dodd, who is reportedly the boy's stepfather, allegedly admitted to police locking the children in the dirty room for more than 12 hours daily so Freeman, their mother, could sleep and to keep the kids safe due to the neighborhood. The neighborhood could not have been that dangerous compared to that house.
Oh, I think they'd have been better off outside.
Can you imagine those kids probably have hepatitis?
Oh, I just feel so bad for him. I mean, that's a smell you just can't get off your skin,
Ugh.
too. I mean, it's not like you can't just take a shower or wash your hands or use soap. Like it permeates your pores and
Yeah,
ugh. They probably don't even notice the smell of it anymore though if they're living in it.
right.
Poor babies.
An 11th month, let me say it again. An 11-month-old baby girl who is Dodd's biological daughter was also removed from the home, according to the station. The neighbor who called in the alleged neglect told News 9 she saw the boys naked in the window. They looked at me as if to say, "Help me," Barbara North said. Oh my God.
I want them. I'll take them.
North added they would have dookie all over their face, hands, and mouth.
Oh, poor babies.
Oh. Dodd and Freeman have been charged with 5 counts of child neglect. Oh God. Yeah, throw them in jail, throw away the key.
Yeah. Worst story ever, Tim.
Yeah. Well, unless you want to go for this one.
I'd rather hear about people being decapitated than children being abused.
Yeah, that's for sure. We're going back to Florida, where a syringe sicko is charged with a squirting spree.
Ew, that sounds nasty.
Yeah. According to cops, female victims were sprayed in 2 Miami department stores. Here's your sicko right here. His name is Sean Uribe. There's a picture of him.
Oh, Sean, he looks angry
He does, doesn't he?
and creepy.
He is a creep.
What's he squirting? Ugh.
Well, you're about to find out. Sean Uribe is a leading candidate for Dirtbag of the Month. In 2 separate incidents, cops allege the 35-year-old Uribe followed female victims around Miami, Florida department stores and used a medical syringe, that's in quotes, to squirt an unknown liquid on the buttocks of his targets.
What?
Yeah, he's a creep and a freak.
Oh, I really am so curious. Did they test the liquid? What was it?
Let's find out. Well, brandishing the syringe in one hand, Uribe was filming the vile acts with his cell phone. So you're walking around a department store in Miami, right? You're just shopping, Jess. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
you feel some strange liquid hit your butt. You turn around, this guy's filming it with a cell phone. He's got a syringe in his hand. He's just hit you with this strange liquid. What are you thinking?
I'd be like, let's go outside.
Let's go outside. Oh, Mike, you're famous.
Let's take this on the wing.
Let's take this on the wing. According to police reports, Uribe squirted a juvenile in late June at a Ross Dress for Less store. The girl told the cops that other shoppers alerted her that a man used a syringe to excrete an unknown liquid on her buttocks and began filming her. Suspect fled after witnesses contacted store employees. The episode, which was captured by a store surveillance camera, left a liquid stain on the girl's jean shorts. Ew. Late last month, cops began investigating a battery at a Marshall store that mirrored the June incident. The male suspect approached a woman from behind and used a syringe to spray an unknown substance on the victim's left buttocks area. The man, who appeared to be recording the victim, matched the physical description of the suspect in the earlier crime and was wearing an identical Miami Dolphins baseball cap. I'm sure the Dolphins are loving that.
Not the kind of publicity you want.
Right. Great PR for the Miami Dolphins. The victim in the August 29th incident was in shock, and before she could confront the male, he walks away from her and out of the store. She later picked Uribe out of a police photo lineup. Uribe was arrested last week and charged with battery on a child, a felony, 2 misdemeanor battery counts, and a felony tampering with evidence charge. Uribe posted bond and will be subject to house arrest. The judge previously ordered him to stay away from the victims and the department stores. During a post-arrest interview, Uribe reportedly confessed and said the liquid in the syringes was Cetaphil, which is a moisturizing lotion.
What? Why? Did he think it looked like something else, so he thought it was funny?
I think so. He also claimed to have deleted all videos from his phone. I don't buy that for a second.
You don't know if I even believe it was Cetaphil. I think it was something gross.
While in custody, Uribe was allowed to use his phone to call his father. During that conversation, which was recorded by police, Uribe directed his parent to go to the family residence where he had been staying and remove hard drives. I need you to get them and fucking hide them. Put them under lock and key. That was his quote.
Smooth. He doesn't know he's being recorded.
He didn't know he was being recorded. Yeah. Uribe's father, however, arrived at the residence after a cop was dispatched to secure the property. A subsequent search of the home turned up hard drives in the exact location where the defendant explained to his father they would be.
Thanks, buddy. You made our job so much easier.
That's right. Not too smart. Investigators also seized 3 medical syringes containing a viscous white liquid consistent with that of semen.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Clothing and other potential forensic evidence. Ew. The contents of the confiscated hard drives are being reviewed by police and could result in additional charges.
What a very, very strange kink this man has. Like, I don't understand how that would get someone off, but yeah. It's just lotion though, Tim. It's just lotion.
Yeah,
just hand lotion.
Just Cetaphil. It's not
Simple as that.
not his jizz, so don't worry about it.
It's not his jizz.
No. I don't buy that for a second. See, he's trying not to get major charges here. Because if it
See,
is
I'm only a little weird. I'm not like gross weird.
right. I'm just weird, right? Because if it is his bodily fluids, the charges go way, way up.
Right, as they should. Freak.
Yeah. So yeah, he's into it. He's in it big time if that's the case. This next story you would think would be, well, let's just say it's weird. It's this woman flips out on cops, and I can't tell you. I think she's on drugs.
Okay, probably. I feel
Yeah.
like most of the times they are.
Yeah. Here's the headline, Jess. I can't deal with this. A woman flashes her chest, kicks deputies in the face after calling cops to report that her son was kidnapped.
Wait, what?
There's a lot there. We got a lot to unpack here.
I am trying to digest all of that. Okay.
Let me give you the headline one more time, and you try to put
Okay.
yourself in her shoes, because obviously she's not wearing a top. Here we go.
She's in distress. I get her son was kidnapped. Yes.
Or was he?
Hmm.
Because this could be an excuse just to, remove her top and kick people in the face.
It's such a strange reaction.
I know.
Just I'm so distraught. I need to rip my breasts out of my shirt.
That's right. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Here we go. I can't deal with this, she yells as she flashes her chest, kicks deputies in the face after calling the cops to report that her son was kidnapped.
I suspect meth was at play.
Probably a good guess. Body cam footage that recently resurfaced online shows a woman's erratic behavior during an encounter with 3 deputies after she called 911 to report a kidnapping. The video shows 2 male deputies and a female deputy responding to a call at a home in Indian River County, Florida. Ta-da! He said the magic word. On June 15th of 2022, and encountering a woman who appears to be distressed. The woman starts by saying she called 911 earlier that week and had spoken with the female deputy, Taya De Leon, and her eyelashes, but De Leon states that she never spoke with the woman. As the deputies try to question the woman about the nature of her call, many of her responses are incoherent and hard to make out. Oh, we're already on the meth train right now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I can't deal with this. You're not invited, the woman yells before trailing off unintelligibly. You're not invited.
You're not invited.
Yeah, here we go. When the officers ask her whether she drank alcohol or took any medications that day, she says no and launches into some allegations that her ex-husband kidnapped her son. I'm dealing with my son. I've not seen my son in a month. I'm dealing with fucking work. I'm dealing with my fucking son. My son's dad won't give him a phone. Won't give him a phone. Okay.
A lot going on. Yeah.
The woman says after telling the deputies that she's working to settle a custody dispute. The encounter escalates after deputies continue to try to question the woman, but she begins arguing. At one point, she flashes her chest to De Leon, saying that she just underwent surgery, and starts accusing the deputies of touching her.
What?
Take a look at these. Would you like to touch them? It's getting weirder, Jess.
Just
After
taking a turn.
Yeah, I know. They're real. After refusing to comply with the officer's orders and continuing to get in De Leon's face, all of the deputies restrain her and place her in cuffs. Once she's detained, she continues speaking incoherently. There's more magic where that came from, Jess. She says, I always talk to somebody. I don't fucking lie about shit, the woman says. Can you let her go? Because this is fucking a lot for her.
For herself as third person?
I don't know. Shortly afterward, she started yelling and crying loudly and dramatically falls to the ground. As the deputies help her up from the ground and walk her to a squad car, they have trouble getting her to sit in the back seat. The situation escalates again when she loudly demands him to stop touching her, and then she kicks De Leon.
Poor De Leon, he got flashed and kicked.
Yep. The deputies try to force her into the car, and she kicks De Leon again, this time in the face.
Oh.
It's a rough day. It's a rough day to be a De Leon. The male deputies finally get her into the car and then check on their colleague who is bending over and massaging her nose.
Oh, De Leon was the female officer.
Yep.
Oh, even worse.
I'm okay, De Leon assures her partners. I'm not bleeding, right? The video ends after one of the male deputies tells the woman she'll be charged with a felony. For what? The woman asks. For kicking her in the face, the deputy responds. I never kicked her in the face, the woman yells. You did. I watched you do it. It's all on video, the deputy states. The woman was reportedly charged with felony battery of an officer. If you'd like to see the entire video, I tell you what I'll do. I'll post it in the description of this show so you can watch the entire thing. for your son.
Yikes. Those poor officers, they were just going there to help her.
And in the words of a good friend of mine, you can watch some crazy titties and some kung fu action. How's that sound?
Actually, a quote.
That's a quote.
I
Crazy
love it.
titties and some kung fu action. There you go. Our last story is a crime in a different kind of way. I'll explain to you as soon as I read the story. And then we have a palate cleanser today from all this not safe for work stuff. It's an innocent story to cleanse the palate from all the not safe for work stuff.
Wonderful.
I've decided palate cleansers are a good thing, Jess.
I like them. They make me feel better about my evening.
It's a return to more innocent times. All right, Jess, you tell me where the crime is here. Here's the story. I've got to, you see me, I'm adjusting my head before I read this story.
It's a bad sign. I know it's going to be bad.
It's bad. Here we go. The most sexually active woman gives an update on her challenge to sleep with 600 people this year.
Oh, wow. Okay, girl.
Mind you, she's leaving it open for both sexes.
Hashtag goals.
Hashtag goals. Australia's most sexually active woman has shared an update on her bid to sleep with 600 people in 2024. Annie Knight had a goal in 2023 to sleep with 365 people. And in 2024, she decided to level up, that's a quote, and sleep with 600 people throughout the year.
I'm tired just listening to that as a plan. That's exhausting.
Has 965 people in 2 years. Put it this way, when the wind blows hard, you know she's coming. Just say. Last year, everyone started talking about me because I was talking about my sexual escapades online, and I mentioned how many people I'd slept with, and it went viral and everyone was talking about it. There's a lot of talking going on there. She told that to New Zealand's Edge podcast with Clint, Meg, and Dan. I don't know if you've heard that podcast or not.
I have not.
I've not either. There's a lot of talking going on. And I thought, why not make a bit of fun out of this and make it a challenge? That's one hell of a challenge. I don't think she has a day job.
I mean, you wouldn't have time for a day job and all of that activity.
There's 365 days in a year and you're going for 600 people. There's a lot of icing going on. I'm just saying, a lot of icing. A lot of icing.
Definitely isn't fun anymore. That's for sure.
A lot of icing, a lot of creams. A lot of rest.
A lot of lubes.
A lot of lubes. Well, if you need lubes, Diddy's got them, evidently. He's got 1,000 of them in his house.
Oh, wow.
Just saying.
Oh, Diddy.
I got back to Diddy there. Knight, who publishes content on an adult subscription platform, go figure, revealed in the September 5th interview that she had just over 400 people already.
Wow.
Saying she was just trying to use dating apps and meet people organically in real life. What, does she trip and fall on dicks? How does this happen? 400 people, Jess.
I can't.
I don't even meet 400 people in passing at the grocery store. How do you meet 400 people? Huh? But in a bid to hit her goal, she started taking applications from her followers where people can apply to sleep with her.
Wow.
That's nice of her. She was hit with an influx of applications saying she didn't know why she hadn't done that sooner.
Yeah, I got to give the fans what they want, I guess.
Yes. The person had to be okay with being filmed, but they had the option to have their face blurred. Probably good for us. I'm just saying, if you're filling out an app to get laid, you probably aren't cute, right? I'm just saying. You're probably not a looker.
I was just thinking our poor fans don't get anything quite as exciting from us.
You're right. If you're filling out an app to get laid, you're probably ringing bells at Notre Dame. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's probably an issue with you.
Maybe. That's likely.
Yeah, thinking they're probably appearing in your monster book, Jess. I'm thinking, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, Tim.
Oh, so you had to be okay with being filmed. You had to be okay with having your face blurred. It's probably required by law by half of these people. Sure, a lot of them have warrants. Just saying.
You're probably on a lot of lists.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of lists. You had to say if you've been tested for sexually transmitted diseases and had to send images of yourself.
Oh, so she had to approve them before. They had to look good enough to her.
She's slightly discerning.
But she's not going to be too picky because she's got goals to meet.
Right. She's still got to get through 200. So, evidently you have to be breathing. I don't know. There's no Weekend at Bernie's candidates here, I guess. She said she is really picky. Wink.
Obviously.
Yeah. And while sometimes she lowers the bar, you think, there is definitely a certain standard that potential partners have to meet in the looks department. Come on. Come on.
I want to know what she looks like.
Well, I'll show you in a minute.
Okay.
Here's a picture. Her goal is to hit 600 people in a year and means she would need to sleep with 1.6 people a day. How'd you like to be lucky number 1.6? Huh?
Oh my gosh, I'm laughing like my Aunt Marla now.
You walk in, you're like, so did you shower in hand sanitizer? I mean, yeah.
Oh.
But she did reveal there are days when she simply isn't bothered. So I mean, she may take a day off and choose to go for 3.2.
Exactly. Okay. Well, it's good that she takes some time for herself.
Mm-hmm. Boy, how would you like to be lucky number 4 in a day? Oh.
So icky.
Boy, doesn't that make you feel special? She says you can't cut people in half. Oh, isn't that a special statement? You can't cut people.
I don't even know what that means.
It just, it means that you have to take a day off and take them in groups. Evidently, you have to take a number like at a deli, Jess. You have to.
Like at the DMV.
Yeah, like at the DMV. Now serving number 473. Number 473. Oh, she says you can't cut people in half. Some days I might sleep with 5 people, and the next few days I might not sleep with anyone. I do get tired.
I'm sure.
It is exhausting, but I need to have a break, she said. She might do 5 in one day. I don't think she's doing the work if there's 5 in one day.
No, maybe not. I don't know. I try not to visualize it, quite honestly.
I don't think there's any reverse cowgirl going on here, if you know what I'm saying. Just saying. She says, I don't always feel like having sex, and I don't want to force myself if I'm not in the mood. You've got 600 to get through. You better get in the mood. Come on, girlie. You put the challenge down. There's no crying and fucking.
She has definitely made it a sport. That's for sure.
Remember back in the day, the Houston 500? I think she did it in one shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I'm right. I'm doing the Minnesotan thing now. Yeah, she did it in one shot. Yeah.
It's just like people waiting in line.
It was. It was like one big line for like Homer hankies. Like everybody lined up and she iced them down, I think. She just went for the whole
Wow.
cost. So 600 in a year is nothing, sweetheart. You need to just
I'm much less impressed now that you just told me that.
yeah. See, when you compare apples to volume, I mean, 600 in a year is nothing. You need to just jump on it and go, right? Knight, who revealed she is likely to make between 3 million and 4 million this fiscal year
From this,
from this,
I am doing this all wrong.
right? Screw writing books or write books about screwing, one or the other. I'm just saying,
Combine them both.
right? Said marketing was important as not everyone was going to make it in the industry. Well, you're making something between 3 and 4 million. But it doesn't always go according to plan. She said the world is her oyster, but she has people shout gross things at her in the street. Well, they're going to.
I mean, it's not nice to do that, but
Which makes her feel uncomfortable, Jess. Oh, she feels uncomfortable.
I wouldn't shout gross things at her. I would just say them quietly to you as she walked by.
Psst, psst, psst. You're a whore. That's it. Yeah. Probably. Yeah, right. 600 people. You're a whore. Right? I mean, that's probably what you'd say to her.
I mean, something like, probably wouldn't use the whore word. I'd really
Okay.
say the word.
Are you ready for the funniest line in this whole thing?
Yes, bring it.
Knight said she wasn't a sex toy and that people need to treat her like a human being.
Oh,
If you don't want to be treated like a sex toy, quit fucking 600 people.
quit making yourself one.
Yeah. Quit being the bouncy gym. I'm just saying. Quit being the human fleshlight. You know what that is now because you've looked it up.
I do. Thanks to you. Now I know what the human fleshlight is.
Yeah. See,
I've been educated.
there you go. It's not the only time the former marketing executive has spoken about the downside of her chosen career, with Australia's most sexually active woman telling news.com.au last year, people love to tell me to get a real job, even though I'll likely pay $1 million in taxes this financial year. Boy, she sure is throwing the financial figures around.
She's buying a lot of books, paying for a lot of education,
Yeah, she is.
paving a lot of roads. Whatever they do with their taxes there.
Well, she ain't paving roads. She's probably laying on them, though. Getting effed. I'm just saying. Another favorite comment is, your mom and dad must be proud, which is one I always laugh at because, yes, they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, evidently your mom and dad are proud. She says, my mom messages me daily telling me how proud she is for living my life authentically and not caring what anyone thinks. And my dad supports me no matter what. Well, he's probably got to hold up the bed because she's broken all the springs. Because just saying that.
Well, I can't even imagine as a parent.
Her dad is not proud. Come on. What's her?
I wouldn't think so.
What's her dad gonna say? Oh, honey, I'm so proud of you. What's he gonna say? Oh, hon, you're a whore. Well,
I mean, I would love my child no matter what, but I wouldn't be proud.
no, her dad can never go to the pub.
I would just be like, what did I do wrong?
Can you imagine?
How did I make you like this?
Her dad can't go to the pub. You know what all the boys are gonna say? Can I get your daughter's number?
Never mind, I've already had her.
Ah, see? He can't. Her dad's probably hiding in a closet somewhere. But while the 27-year-old woman's family are supportive of Knight's raunchy profession, yeah, right, which involves selling explicit images and videos of herself to subscribers, OnlyFans, It hasn't always been smooth sailing. Knight's X-rated career was outed to her dad, Simon, who until that point had only known his daughter worked in social media.
Oh gosh, what a shock.
So she hid it. It was pretty awful to receive a panic call from my dad saying, a reporter just showed up at my door and is saying my daughter is a sex maniac, she explained. My heart sank, not because I was ashamed, but because my dad is so innocent and kind, and he loves me so much, he would have been so confused and shocked by that. So she railroaded her dad. And now he has to accept it. So
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, of course I'm proud of you, honey.
I love you, honey.
He sticks a gun in his mouth every night, wondering if he should pull the trigger.
Oh,
That poor man.
yeah, that's rough.
I'm not sure exactly what was said to my dad, but the fact he paraphrased sex maniac makes me think it wasn't anything pleasant. Well, no, it wasn't pleasant. It made me feel like I was being slut shamed, but thankfully I had a conversation with dad and explained what OnlyFans was, and he was okay with it. He was very supportive. No, he lied to your face so that you could live with yourself. Meanwhile, your old man is horribly, horribly scarred for life.
I would think so.
And you're banging anything that moves. And you're going to have
Yeah,
millions of dollars. And are you going to give your dad any of it?
Yeah.
You should buy
I
your
hope
dad.
so. Buy him something nice.
You should buy your dad a house with all your fuck money. And I'm not shaming her. Don't get me wrong. She can do whatever she wants with her life. I don't
To
care.
each their own. It is shocking though.
To each their own. And here, let me show you a picture of what she looks like. And by gosh, she could do whatever she wants with that.
Well, she's pretty.
Yeah, she's a good looking gal.
Yeah. But I mean, just that's exhausting. That's so much work.
It is. There's
Keeps her
another,
nice and trim though. She's in good shape.
yeah, there's another picture of her right there. Right?
Yep.
And God
Yep,
love
there
her.
she is in a bikini.
Yep, there she is in a bikini. And you're right. She's probably nice and trim because she's had 400 guys. Or I don't know. There might be some girls in there too.
I think that burns a lot of calories, honestly. I mean,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
a decent workout. You
That's
don't
right.
have much time to eat,
No.
Cheetos and sit around and watch Real Housewives if you're got 5 people to do in one day.
That's right. Unless they're feeding you a sandwich at the same time they're going at you. I mean,
That would be the only way I could accomplish that goal. Someone would have to be feeding me at the same time.
well, maybe it's in the contract.
Chocolate. Yeah, I like food.
So, well, maybe you're doing it with food. Maybe that's in the contract. I'm just saying, you throw a little food in there. That way you're getting your calories at the same time you're expending.
I would be more likely to set a goal to eat 500 cheesecakes in 1 year.
Now that's a goal.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Muddy Paws Cheesecakes, which I don't know if they're still around, but
There you go.
there you go.
Hook a girl up.
You know what? I'd get you a sponsorship from Jelly Bean and Julius too. So that way you get some barbecue in there too.
Ooh, I do like some barbecue.
See? I think we've got sponsorship opportunities for you here, Joe. Just saying. All right. I promised you a palate cleanser. We're done with not safe for work. Want a palate cleanser?
Ooh, yes, please.
All right, here we go. Here's a story of how 2 mules masterminded an unbridled breakout from their corral in San Francisco. Or in Frisco, rather. I guess this is in a Colorado mountain town. A pair of sister mules, Dolly and Jolene, masterminded the breakout that led to 14 mules running through the Colorado mountain town. Restless in the off-season between summer wagon rides and winter sleigh rides, 14 mules in the Frisco Adventure Park staged a breakout. Get it? Because mules. See? Thursday, September 19th, and cruised around town for 2 hours before being caught.
Wow.
See,
Dolly and Jolene, go girls.
there you go. 2 mules in particular, sisters Dolly and Jolene, led the great escape, according to Sierra Madrigal, the mule manager for 2 Below Zero. They were the ones that masterminded the entire escape, and they were the last ones to be caught, Madrigal said. They're the ones that are the brains of the operation. they took it upon themselves to go find pasture. Sometimes slandered as dumb creatures, mules are actually extremely smart animals. And Dolly and Jolene were pretty much able to disassemble the pen at the adventure park by lifting up on a panel, Madrigal said. Usually this time of year, the rules will be put, the mules will be put out to pasture, but Two Below Zero recently lost its pasture lease and has not been able to find a new pasture, leaving the mules to remain in their pen through the fall. We lost our lease that we've been using for many years, so they unfortunately still are in the pen for the off season, Madrigal said. So they're getting a little antsy, and I think that is what contributed to the breakout. It was around 2:30 p.m. when the Summit County Sheriff's Office got a call for horses, later identified as mules, running across Colorado Highway 9 near the adventure park, according to Sergeant Mike Schilling. Deputies responded, two of whom were horse owners that ended up being the right people for the job, Schilling said. The main goal was to keep the horses off Colorado Highway 9 and the wreck path, where they could pose a safety hazard. 14 horses is funny, and it was kind of beautiful with the backdrop of the fall season, Schilling said, but it is a serious incident, and it is a legitimate public safety call. Madrigal said the mules took a few laps from the Summit High School area to the St. Anthony Summit Hospital, mostly along the wreck path. While most of the mules stayed together, two of the older mules stayed behind. She explained that the mules form teams of two, usually siblings, that will pull together and can't be mixed and matched. The oldest team we have are little old ladies, we call them. They decided not to follow the group and were caught right off the bat, Madrigal said. They didn't make it out of the Frisco Adventure Park. They saw the younger ones run off and decided it wasn't worth it. They decided not to make a break. Deputies and Two Below Zero staff were eventually able to get eyes on the mules and kept them contained in an area near the hospital, Madrigal said. The team lured the mules in with bags of grain and formed a circle to keep them from running off, she said. Staff who the mules recognized then slowly approached the animals, put a halter on them, and tied them to a tree until a horse trailer was ready to shuttle them back to the adventure park. Dolly and Jolene, the troublemakers of the day, were the last to be caught, because they're the fugitives after all. They stayed uncaught for longer than the rest, Madrigal said. They were definitely more worked up than the rest of them. It's possible they knew they were in trouble. Not that we would scold them or anything, but they knew they weren't supposed to do that. Schilling noted that this is not the first time the sheriff's office has responded to livestock on the loose. Earlier this year, the sheriff's office helped secure a horse that got on the loose in Breckenridge, but this latest incident might be the most animals the sheriff's office has ever had to wrangle at once. Madrigal noted that the mule pen has been repaired to prevent the mules from escaping in the future. She said that the Two Below Zero is continuing to look to rent a pasture where the mules can graze, and anyone that might have an appropriate fenced-in pasture should contact the company. So there you go.
Well, those might be our smartest criminals all day.
That's right. They're the smartest ones we read about all day. And they still got caught.
Crime doesn't pay.
But at least they got grain out of it. So there you go.
Yeah, and they got a little running around time, so there's that.
Yeah, they got to see a hospital. They didn't get to fly away in the helicopter, but, they didn't have, opposable thumbs to do that either.
Yeah, you can't have everything.
That's right. They can't have it. So, Jess, with that, we've got books to promote. You've got two books on sale right now, right?
I do. I have Monsters of the Northeast and Ghost Stories of Pennsylvania.
There you go. So we've got a link to that in the description of this program. Go get those books. Speaking of, Jess, normally I don't promote who I have on Thursday, but I think I might make an exception this week.
Who could it be, Tim?
Do you happen to know who I have on this week, Jess?
I think it's two very lovely ladies.
I think it is too. Maybe you could tell them who we have.
They're very smart. They're good storytellers.
Yeah.
It's me and Natalie.
There you go.
Yay.
You and Natalie will be on the show on Thursday, and we'll be talking about
it's going to be so fun.
We're talking about those two wonderful books on Thursday. So I encourage people to tune in on Thursday. We'll let you know more about Monsters of the Northeast, and I'll let you say the other book.
Ghostly Tales of Pennsylvania.
There you go. So we'll be talking about those two books on Thursday. In the meantime, tomorrow, Supernatural News with Mally Fox. So that's what we got on
Yay.
this week. We got a full week this week. Good
It's
stuff.
a great week.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's exceptional week. So there you go. So that'll do it for today. For Jessica Freeberg, I'm Tim Dennis. I got nothing else for. We've taken up enough time from people, especially with that second to last story.
Oh, that was a long one.
It was long. So we'll leave people for today, and we'll see you tomorrow for Supernatural News. For Jessica Freeberg, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for listening today for True Crime Tuesday. Again, the puzzle box, Danielle Trussoni. Be sure to pick that up as well. There's a link in the description of this program. We'll see you tomorrow for Mally Fox and Supernatural News. Thank you for listening to True Crime Tuesday.
For more audio and video archives of True Crime Tuesday, please visit darknessradioshow.com. Thank you for watching.